one of the first times I met you was we were both doing a festival in Houston, and God,
Yeah.
who was it that brought you up? It was
Oh,
somebody,
Bun B.
Bun B, who
Yeah,
is
my buddy.
legendary
Yeah.
rapper, Houston legend. So before we even get into Credence, like tell the audience, because I know a lot of people know who you are, but like tell the audience like what, like where were you brought up, and like what's your
Uh,
like background?
so my background was so I grew up in Bay City, Texas, just south of Houston. I went to college at Sam Houston State University. I have a broadcast journalism degree. I became a sports producer. I was in Austin, then San Antonio. Kind of switched over to doing news, moved to Houston. But the whole time on the side, I was always trying to do comedy. But I was just
Yeah.
like, I didn't know how to really get into it. It was like an outlet for me. I would do a lot of writing, like write for like kind of freebie magazines around town, write some comedy column or something.
Yeah.
And it was Twitter of all things. I mean, but back when Twitter was fun, like
I
now everyone is
remember.
having the worst day of their life every day when they get on Twitter.
Yeah.
But this was back when you could just, I'm like, oh, okay, I get on Twitter. I'm like sitting in a newsroom in Houston. I start just writing jokes, on my
Hmm.
phone. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, cool. I got 100 followers. Oh, I got, all of a sudden I had, 300,000 followers just from writing jokes on Twitter. And from that, I ended up like, people took notice and I got an agent, manager, and I started like, hey, let me start telling those jokes on stage and see if they work.
Hmm.
And I wrote some pilots that, went nowhere, but whatever, people bought them. And but my time, so that's kind of like what led me to being here today in Hollywood and, working and as a writer and as a stand-up. But like when I was in Houston, of course, like I did a bunch of things around town. I would like host events, and I was like, so I got to know people like Bun B and like players from the Houston Texans and Rockets and like you just kind of
Yeah.
get to know the community. And I'll be honest with you, like when I first met Bun, it was at this awards thing in Houston, and I grew up a huge UGK fan, like everyone was. So like that was like huge for me to even meet Bun, and then all of a sudden him and I become buddies, and like we started going to Texans games together, Rockets games, and go out to dinner with him and his wife, and like we just became buddies. So when I was doing that festival in Houston, and I texted him and told him, and I was like, yeah, if you want to introduce me, I'm sure the audience will love it more than they will my stand up. And sure enough, the place like fucking erupted.
Bananas.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny about that? Do you know the comic Joe DeRosa?
Hmm.
You know Joe. So Joe, he'll do the jam, that goddamn comedy jam, and every
Yeah.
time we're doing it in a different state, he's always like we've done it in Austin. He was
Uh-huh.
like, I want to do One Arm Scissor by the band. Oh, I can't think of their fucking name. Relationship Command. Jesus Christ. At the drive-in. My God.
Yeah.
This happens to me all the time. Anytime I have a thought, it's like right there. And it's like
Yeah.
I space out. He wanted to do a song because he was like, they'll appreciate us doing the band at the drive-in because they're from Texas. And then when
Hmm.
we were in Houston, he wanted to do Ghetto Boys.
Oh, yes.
My mind is playing tricks on me.
Yeah. Love it.
And like some people went, and the same thing that happened in Austin. A
Yeah.
lot of people were like, I mean, this is pretty cool, but it wasn't like he
Yeah.
thought people are going to be like, fuck yeah,
Right.
and no one gave a shit.
Yeah. I did. There's a music festival, the Free Press Music Festival, that's this magazine puts on in Houston every year. And one year they were like, okay, it's a 3-day festival. I was like, they sent me the lineup and said, we want you to introduce a band. Like, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. Here's the lineup. Oh, by the way, this is the Ghetto Boys reuniting for the first time in how many years? And I was like, well, that's who the fuck I'm introducing. I mean, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? And I mean, I got there and I was like, I cannot believe, like, and Scarface had followed me for a long time. Like, we followed each other, so did Willie D, but I had never met them before. And I remember Bushwick Bill, RIP, was
Yeah.
running insanely late. And this is a music festival. There's
Him?
a scheduled
Really?
amount of time, you know?
A drug addicted midget? Really? Running
Right?
late? No way.
But like my dumbass, I remember like Two Chains was on one of the stages, and he comes over because he wants, like, everyone, like, if you just seen the crowd of people waiting to see the Ghetto Boys for the first time, and everyone's like, I could hear like the panic from all the promoters and everyone. Where's Bill? He's on his way. He said he's going to be here in however much time. And I remember Willie D was like, he's wearing a black t-shirt, he had Dickies, and he had a black bandana that he had tied around his face. It was like the most intimidating thing. And there's Scarface, and they're talking to each other. And I walk up and get in their huddle, and I was like, here's the great news. I know all the lyrics. So if he doesn't make it, I've got this shit. And I just remember Willie D look, all I could see was his eyes was like, no. I was like, swing and a miss, Johnson. That was not a good joke. But what we ended up doing was like, I'm like, I went out, I introduced Scarface because they all have their own individual albums. So like he played some of his stuff, and then Bushwick Bill ended up making it. It was great. Everyone lost their shit. But that's awesome. Like, that's the cool thing about Houston is like, there's so much different type. You know, I think a lot of people kind of give Houston a bad rap because you just think it's like some conservative oil town, but it's like, it's not. It's like a really artistic, open-minded city. And and you know, that was one of the most fun things. There's actually a video of it on YouTube. My friend, who's a documentary filmmaker, filmed me walking out to like introduce the Ghetto Boys.
Oh, that's
like,
awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So then, how like does Creedence? Because it sounds like hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just sounds like something that's. I mean, even with me, it's like I mean, I love hip hop. I love rock music. And so I remember like when I was younger, it was like I only listened to rock. And then when I started listening to hip hop, I was like, no more rock. I'm done with that. It's only hip hop. And then when I got into high school, I was like, oh, you could listen to both. Yeah. So like what music were you listening to as a kid and
I really listened to like I truly did listen to everything. My dad was a big music fan, and he was the one that like and my parents were like older when they had kids. Like my dad and I, he's gone now, but like we were almost 40 years apart. Like they were married for 15 years before they had kids. So I had this like older, you know, like I didn't even know what an 8-track was. I had my parents' records and then cassette tapes. Like, you know, he missed that whole chunk of time. But my dad was just like, we would always listen to, you know, Willie, Waylon, you know, but Creedence was one, like Janis Joplin. Like I love listening to all his like his music. And then my mom was like, you get in the car with her and it's just going to be Sade all day. But I love that too. You know, I love easy listening, you know, almost like yacht rock music too.
Love it. I love yacht rock.
And,
got it.
And I'm like, now at this age where like, how old are you? I'm 44.
I'm 42. So we're basically the same age. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, I don't even hardly listen to new shit anymore. I'm the person that just rides around listening to Lithium and, you know, Backspin. I want to listen to all the old shit. Like I'm like, I'm sure I've heard a Taylor Swift song like in a department store or something, but it's not what I listen to. And so Creedence was just like, I don't know what it was about John Fogerty's voice, the lyrics. Like he just had this bluesy, like, you know, like everything about their music just, and it had meaning behind it too. It had good guitar riffs. It had good drums. Like it was just, you know, everything about it just appealed to me. I remember like the first time hearing like Green River, like just the guitar riff of Green River blew my mind, like as a kid. And so everything, it was always CCR for me. Like, and then I would say second to that would be Traveling Wilburys.
Really?
Yeah.
I know like one song. I've never listened to that record all the way through.
Oh, it's so good. Just banger after banger, as the kids say.
Everybody got somebody. That song fucking does slap. Yeah. I can't shit on it at all. I know there's somebody that's mad at me right now that says I haven't listened to it, but I just never did.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, that was like the super group that formed together with Bob Dylan. Was it Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, George Harrison,
Jeff Lynne. Yeah, it's legends, and and it's coming up. I think eventually, right, Adam, sooner than later on this podcast. Is it
what, the Traveling Wilburys?
Yeah.
Let me take a look.
Yeah, we'll get just you dig in. It's coming. I'm pretty sure it's coming up. Creedence for me, because I still want to ask you more questions about how you got into it so much. Because Creedence for me, it was somebody had their greatest hits record when I was in high school, and me and my friends were starting to venture into more Beatles, more Rolling Stones, more Led Zeppelin, and then like Pink Floyd. And so somebody gave me the greatest hits, and so I listened to that. And I remember Susie Q
Yeah.
sticking out so much, because Fortunate Son is a great song. I'm not taking anything away from that song. It's an incredible song. But I think at the time it was Susie Q that I really loved. And that was what I kept spinning. And I didn't really dig so much into it until really now, where this is the first Creedence record that wasn't a greatest hits that I listened to all the way through. But
if you want another one, I'll show. I brought this because I have it framed. Cosmos Factory. You can see
wow.
Light. Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking dope.
Yeah, actually, I love when I first moved to LA and I was like, Amoeba Records, what the fuck is this? And I went to Amoeba, you can get albums. And so I was like buying those and putting them in frames.
Oh, that's great.
Cosmos Factory is one I would highly recommend. And as my dad used to always go like, oh, there's both Rain songs, because it's Have You Ever Seen the Rain and Who'll Stop the Rain? Yeah. Both Rain songs are amazing. And I mean, just everything, I don't know, like every song to me is good. I heard it through the grapevine, like John Fogerty wrote Proud Mary and Tina Turner made it famous. But his version of Proud Mary is also badass. I heard it through the grapevine that's like, it's just, like, I don't know, like every song of theirs is just really, really like has just such good lyrics, and Willie and the Poor Boys, like that's an awesome album too. This was
like this was a really fun record to listen to. I mean, I immediately was like, because what I do is, so I don't get tired, because what I used to do on the podcast was each week before I would record an episode, I would just listen to one album so much. So where if at first I didn't like it, I'll be like, it's okay. The more I listen to it, the more I'd be like, oh my God, this is so brilliant. And then that just leads to me coming on every episode being like, this album rules. Oh my God, it's so great. It's a masterpiece. And I feel like if I kind of spread out the listens now and I don't listen to it as much, I actually come in with real thoughts and stuff that I liked and stuff that I didn't like. And so I put this one on. So what I'll do is I'll go like, all right, the next 2 months are going to be these albums that I have to record. So I'll slowly start listening to them. And I guess it was on a trip down to Maryland. I put this on and I listened to it all the way through. And I was just fascinated by the songs that are on here, because there's a lot of the stuff from their greatest hits. And then the ones that aren't, are just as good as the hits. But when I posted, because this was a hard one to book, and when I posted about Creedence Clearwater, is anybody fan, you sent me a message saying they're your favorite band of all time.
Yes, hands down. Like I've said this before, and like anytime anyone's ever asked me this, like you can see it in any interview I've ever done. Like Creedence, like easy, hands down.
Really?
CCR,
So when did that start? When did they go from being was it, so you're saying your dad probably introduced this to you, right?
He definitely did. But I remember that there was 3 cassettes. It was Cosmos Factory, Willie and the Poor Boys, and then I'm drawing a blank on the third, but there was 3 cassettes we had, and I broke them, where I had to take the pencil and, screw the cassette back in. Like, so it's just, since I was a kid, they've just been my favorite band. Like, I can't think of, I'm trying to think of anybody else that ever came close. Like, Heart. I love the band Heart.
Really?
Yeah, I love Heart.
Don't I have a recording with her like this week?
You have Ann Wilson TBD to discuss Lucinda Williams' Car Wheels on a Gravel Road, I believe.
You know what song I really like by Heart? The one that goes, these dreams alone when I close I love.
And that's like one of the only songs that Nancy Wilson is lead vocals on. Ann Wilson is lead vocals on everything else, and Nancy's lead vocals on that, because I think there was some like backstory to it where Ann was like had laryngitis or something that day, and like so Nancy just sang, and that's one of their big hits. But yeah, Nancy, who's the lead guitarist and backup vocals, she's actually lead vocals on that one. I've seen in concert a million times.
Really?
Yeah, I actually had Nancy Wilson on my podcast, and my buddy Danny Zucker and I are like the biggest diehard Heart fans. And she came like over to my house, and I've never been so like starstruck in my life that like, holy fucking shit, Nancy Wilson just walked into my house. Like, Are you kidding? Yeah. She's a badass,
cool?
dude.
She was bad.
She's very cool. And like, she follows me on everything, and like, we'll send each other, like, she'll like send me like a direct message, like LOL at some horse shit that I post.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Nancy Wilson.
Who follows you? Because you have a huge following on Twitter and online. Like who has followed you that you've been like, oh my God. I mean, obviously Nancy Wilson, but who else? Like, is there anybody else that was like, holy shit, dude, this is fucking insane?
The ones that follow me are usually, it's people that like, you know, like I love it when like a comic that I look up to follows me. Like that's always cool. But it's the like people that I don't expect. And the one that sticks out, and him and I are actually buddies now, but is Scott Kelly, you know, the astronaut that did a year in space.
Yeah.
When he was in space, I remember I had been following him on Instagram, and then I saw something on Twitter that was like CNN retweeted. It was right before he was coming back to Earth. And I was like, oh, I didn't know he had a Twitter account. And he followed like 20 people, and I was one of them. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why is it like this guy's like, it was a Navy fighter pilot, and like he's actually an American hero. And he's reading my dick jokes on Twitter. Are you shitting me? And I remember I sent him a direct message. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe. And I am also a big space nerd. I'm sure it has to do with growing up in Houston and constantly going to the Johnson Space Center.
Yeah.
And he sends me a direct message from fucking space. Like he direct messaged me from the International Space. I still have it saved. I'm like, I cannot believe an astronaut follows me on Twitter.
I wish it was like a boomerang or like a dick pic or something. Like, because you can see, like, I can imagine what your balls are. Yeah, your dick and your ball. Like, if you really ever want to see what your dick and balls will look like in space, just take a bath and then just kind of like just fill it up. Yeah, because it's like it's almost like the opening to a James Bond movie. It's like, you know what I mean? Like your balls are like, for your eyes only.
You can do upside down little cartwheels. Like,
oh, it's insane, dude. Take mushrooms, smoke some green, take a bath.
See, these are the questions that astronauts need to be asked more. Like everyone's like, how do you poop in space? Nobody cares. They figure that out. I want to know the crazy shit that y'all have done. Like, I want to know about jerking off in space. Like, who does it? You have to jerk off in space, right? That's the ultimate Mile High Club. I mean, like,
yeah. He's there for a year. I mean, come on.
Right.
Could you imagine if he doesn't, what that fucking load is like when he lands? You're talking, I've gone 3 days and I'm like, Jesus Christ, my God. And then, I mean, just like a year, just, all right, what are we talking about? Creedence Clearwater?
Oh, yeah.
All right, here,
I believe that's what one of their songs was about, if I'm not mistaken. Was jerking off.
Dude, that's very anti-American. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, so here's a little doodad about the band, just for the people that don't know who Creedence Clearwater is. CCR formed in the El Centro section of Northern California back when some of the band was in junior high in '59. Guitarist and singer John Fogerty, pianist and later on bassist Stu Cook, and drummer Doug Clifford originally formed as the Blue Velvets and played instruments in jukebox standards. They'd also serve as a backing band for John's older brother Tom, who also played guitar. Tom would eventually join the band, and they released 3 singles, one of which was picked up by Casey Kasem. Oh, Casey. I love Casey Kasem, man.
Yeah, I love that voice too.
You're listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival. And so he worked at nearby KEWB in Oakland. The band signed a record deal with independent label Fantasy Records across the bay in '64. At the suggestion of the co-owner of Fantasy Records, the band changed their name to, this is terrible, the Gollywogs. Is that racist? Because it says racist term, by the way.
I believe
I've never heard that.
Let me look up the history on that.
You fucking gollywog. There's somebody right now that's like,
yeah,
that's like going to
they're going to take a clip of you saying this and just post it over and over on TikTok.
I mean,
racist ass Josh.
Fucking gollywog, dude. Please don't tell me it's right. What if it's like the meanest thing? I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's about Philippines.
The fact that we've never heard it, it's got to not be that bad.
I know, but that also shows us like.
Yeah, you're saying gollywog on the 4th of July, you unpatriotic motherfucker. Come on.
Yeah, but Jenny, it's also like, I've heard all the racial slurs. Okay, that's not one of them. Wait, where did you hear them? I don't know. Yeah. They've just been around. Documentaries. All right, so gollywog. I'm going to stop saying it. 64 after the children's literary character. All right, where am I? Cook switched to bass at that point. Tom also stepped back from lead vocals to make way for his brother. Tom said, I could sing, but John had a sound. That's backing up exactly. And yeah, you got, I mean, for someone like me who sings and has that raspy voice, it's the people, because it is a huge thing about why this band is so good is he's a white dude that has the rasp and can sing like a black dude. It's like, who is that? Who the fuck else was I just listening to? That's like famous. Oh, Elvis. Fuck, it's Elvis. Yeah. Elvis Presley is literally the most famous white guy that became famous from singing like a brother. So,
like actually when I was little and, you know, I just like when I started listening to CCR, I honestly thought John Fogerty was black.
Yeah.
Like I truly did. And then there was something on TV one night, like, you know, one of those back in the 80s, like a PBS special or something. And there CCR wasn't. I'm like, whoa, it blew my mind. I'm like, that voice is coming out of that face. I did not expect that.
No,
like, I did not see that coming. I felt the same way with Charlie Pride too. I love him. I did not see that coming.
No, I completely. All right, where was I? So blah 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 blah. The band took a 2-year break as John enlisted. Here you go. This is where we're forming the substance of the band. He enlists into the Army Reserve while Doug signed up for the Coast Guard Reserves. A new owner took over the record label, hated the band's name, and it was changed to Creedence Clearwater Revival. That's a good decision. They got their first big break on a national level. Here it is with their cover of Susie Q from their self-titled debut in 68. They followed that up with Bayou Country in 69. Proud Mary and Born on the Bayou were successful singles. And 3 months later, they released 2 singles with their next release, Bad Moon Rising and Lottie. In August, they released their third record. What is it? Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, Loda.
Okay, I'm so stupid. Lottie. I'm a big fan of Annie Hall. Lottie da.
Yeah, it's actually a type of wine. Loda.
Loda? Fuck yeah, dude. And they have their 5th album, Moscato. And no, I'm just kidding. In August, they released their 3rd record, Green River, and it was the first album to hit the Billboard 200. They performed at Woodstock the same month, and they got right back to work for today's record. All right, so here's a little blurb about this album. But also, before I got even into that, I love the song Born on the Bayou so fucking. That's a song that I want to sing with a band. Because I love everything about that song. I love that, like that weird organ that's kind of creeping in.
So fucking good.
And then the and then you want to talk about sounding like a black guy and the rasp. I out of all the Creedence I've ever heard, I don't think anything really showcases how great John Fogerty's voice is than fucking Born on the Bayou.
Yeah.
Just the notes, he's in a higher register. The growl is there. It feels like it's like he's singing from his heart and about like his upbringing. I'm assuming are they from the Bayou? No, they're from
like Northern California or something. Yeah, like everything about it doesn't make sense. Like nothing adds up, but it somehow all of a sudden this voice comes out of a Northern California dude's mouth.
You know what's funny, Jenny? So this is, I get that. I get kind of like positioning yourself, because all right, look, saying you're from Northern California is, you know, what San Francisco, you're a hippie, this is in this time, you're lazy, you're rich or whatever the fuck. And this band is a working class band. Everything about the way they dressed, the way they sounded, so when I was starting comedy, and I had lived in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., and then I moved to Baltimore for about 6 years before I moved to Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And when I got to L.A., and everybody's like, well, where are you from? And I just said Baltimore, because I felt it added a character to what I was trying to do on stage. And then the funny thing was I kept getting called out by my friends from Germantown, Maryland, from the suburbs. Be like, Baltimore. Okay. Baltimore's big comic. And now I feel like I've been on a apology tour where I'm like, every podcast, they're like, so you're from Baltimore? I'm like, no, I'm actually, and even Burr, when he brought me up on the Netflix things we just taped, he says, one of the badass comics from Baltimore. And I mean, I didn't correct him on television. I was just like, all right, I'm for fucking all that work of trying to get rid of that. So I get it. All right, here you go. After 3 albums released in 1969, they cooled. Wow, they released 3 records in 1969.
Yeah, 69 too.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
They love oral sex at the same time, and they're in hurries.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam, will you do me a favor and find out is Creedence Clearwater Revival the hardest working band? Has anybody else released?
Well, they've broken up. Like John Fogerty tours solo. They broke up a long time ago.
But I also think that was just the kind of the pace that like bands had to put albums out back in the 60s. I mean, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, they were churning out a couple a year. I mean, that was just what it was back then.
Yeah, but it's also like a lot of bands did, but they weren't all winners, like it's just crazy to have like back to back fucking dope albums. I mean, that's something people can't do now.
No, nobody. It takes years, and now you have to go through a corporate structure where you submit the record. They go, okay, we don't really hear a single on here, so could you go back to the lab and kind of give us something? I mean, nobody's doing that anymore. And but also I would think for the Beatles, for Creedence, for Rolling Stones, for these bands, they are probably hitting a stride where it's just like when you're writing material and you're like, you get a premise and you're like, oh, I got another one too. Oh, I got another one. And then you just keep writing. And next thing you know, you've got 15 new minutes. It's probably, they were just in the zone.
Yeah. I feel like that's exactly how it is, because I'm sure you feel the same way. Like sometimes you do get in that zone, and like over, I don't know, about a year ago, I just went through, I got like 25 minutes of new material that was good. That was like worth a shit. And then I went through like 8 months of like, God, I can't fucking come up with anything. I've got nothing. I'm just like drawn. Let me just try to tweak these and make them better, because I've got nothing else new popping into my head.
Yeah. And for comics, it's like we have to keep writing, because if we don't, then we start doubting ourselves. And so even if it's a shitty premise, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll try it at least. But for the record labels, Adam, what did you find? You made your money on record sales back then. Recording studio time was also super expensive back then. So you had to be super productive and get your money's worth. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. All right, so here we go. So they cooled their pace down to 2 albums in 1970 with Cosmos Factory and Pendulum, and still were achieving success with singles. The constant pattern of writing, recording, releasing albums, and touring, plus John's domineering producing style, was enough for brother Tom to leave the band in 1971. The band decided to continue as a trio, but after John was a sole songwriter for so long, the band took a democratic approach to writing and released one more album called Mardi Gras in 1972. It bombed by their standards, peaked at only number 12 and went certified gold. They embarked on a tour to support the record. Afterwards, with deteriorating relationship in full spiral, they broke up for good 6 months after its release. Cook and Clifford continued as Creedence Clearwater Revisited, while Fogerty went on for a successful solo career. Wait, where is the stuff about this album, Adam? Is that it? Go ahead. I can't hear you.
Let's see here.
Where is it? Because that was just about their breakup. Oh, here it is. I found it. Peter, this is our editor, Peter. Yeah. We're gonna have to. Here you go. So, Peter, when I try to figure this out, however we can, to get it back to where I'm talking about it. Okay, here is the background. Actually, no, keep it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I want the people to hear. All right, here, but cut out me talking to you, Peter. Here's the background on Willie and the Poor Boys. All right, we've been waiting for this. In the fall of 1969, CCR was one of the hottest rock bands in the world, having scored 3 consecutive number 2 singles and the number 1 album, Green River. In addition, the group had performed at the landmark Woodstock Festival in August and made several high-profile television appearances. Band leader and songwriter John Fogerty had assumed control of the band after several years of futility, but despite their growing success, the other 2 members, bassist Stu Cook and drummer Doug Clifford, and guitarist Tom Fogerty, John's older brother, began to chafe under Fogerty's demanding autocratic leadership. The band's output in 1969 alone, 3 full-length records was staggering considering they were touring nonstop throughout. So this is their this is their 4th studio album released by the band and the 3rd within a calendar year. Cosmos Factory came out 9 months after today's record. It was recorded at the Fantasy Studios in Berkeley, California. Willie and the Poor Boys made the top 50 and 70 in 6 countries, including France, where it reached number 1 in December 1970. The album went gold in the US. Almost 20 years later, in 1990, the album was certified platinum and 2 times platinum. This year, or the year 69, had been a remarkable chart year for the band. 3 top 10 albums, 4 hit singles, charting at number 2, number 2, number 2, and number 3. Oh, they couldn't get number 1 with 3 additional charting B-sides. Is this their best record?
Is Willie and the Poor Boys their best record?
Yeah.
My favorite is actually Cosmos Factory.
Why?
I just more of the song, like some of my favorite songs are on that one. So I like with all the rain songs, as my dad and I talked about. And then I don't know if you've ever heard Long as I Can See the Light.
I haven't.
Amazing song. Like, not to bring the party down, but I'll tell you, when my basset hound that I actually had for 14 years, when I had to put her down, that's why I just played that song while like that took place. Because I was like, oh, that's something that, like, you know, it meant something. It's like his vocals in that, it sounds almost kind of gospel churchy in a little way. Like, it's really just such a beautiful song. And then you can go to, like, Run Through the Jungle. Have you ever heard that one?
Oh yeah, I mean that's in every Vietnam movie. It's like every dude, this isn't shitting on them, but their music is so engraved in Vietnam in the late 60s, early 70s that it's like you can't get away with. You're gonna make Platoon or fucking Full Metal Jacket. It's like you've got to put Fortunate Son. You've got to put Run Through the Jungle. There's so many. They are music that is time stamped.
It truly is. Like when I was telling you I was a news producer and everything, and there'd be times like, okay, here comes our helicopter or Sky Eye helicopter. Yeah. Every time I hear those propellers, I was like, no. Like I just kept hearing CCR play, because every time you hear the choppers, that's like, I just think I'm watching a movie and the fucking cargo choppers coming down.
Yeah. Do you have any ridiculous stories from when you worked in news? What's the most like absurd, ridiculous thing that you experienced in that world?
Oh God, there's so many that I probably can't tell. Like, people that work in news are pretty, I mean, it's almost like comedians. Like, we're so desensitized, like nothing, because it's just like you're constantly seeing just awful shit, and you almost just have to like make yourself laugh, like, because it can be too much. And shockingly enough, I was the person that had to visit human resource lady all the time, because I would, and this buddy of mine, we would just, every time there was like the first day of interns starting, we couldn't help it. It was just too easy to fuck with them, like they just would be standing around just wide eyed, and everything moves so fast and just fast paced. And then we would just like send each other direct messages in the newsroom. And then he would like turn around and go, "Hey, Jenny, just hey, fuck you. I fucking hate you." And then go back to working, and you just would watch their faces get so upset. Like, is this what it's like to work in news? And I was like, you know what? I hope you die today, Adam. How about that? Like, every time all of a sudden you get that alert, it's like, you need to go to human resource lady's office. We're like, what did we do? We were just trying to bring some joy into the fucking newsroom.
we're talking about a mass shooting, guys.
Right.
Come on.
Or like you would have, like when you're in the booth or something, it's like, okay, off the top, here's the reporter, and I can see the live shot. I'm talking to the reporter in my ear, and then something bigger happens, and I'm like, hey, you're not the lead story anymore. There's an apartment fire in Southwest Houston, and then you just watch the reporter go, fuck, what the fuck? Like, you just all of a sudden you just remove yourself from these horrible things that are going on in the world, and it makes it hard sometimes though to watch like any show that's about news. Like, I was watching the morning show that's the Jennifer Aniston thing, and I can't help but watch it from a perspective of like, that would never happen. There's no way that would never happen. A person, like, they don't even hold their microphones that way. Like, that's not like you get nitpicky about watching other people do the job that you once did.
Yeah. What about the movie Broadcast News? Is it something like that?
That is such horseshit.
Really? I watched that. I watched that on the flight to Los Angeles a couple months ago. And I mean, I was like, this is such a great movie, but
yeah, it's a great movie, but that is not at all like, it's just not at all the way it is. I mean, like one of the, I would say for a funny story, one of the funniest things to me was I was working in Houston at a station, and I was producing the 10 o'clock news that night. And I remember I would take my lunch break around like 7 o'clock or something at night. And I remember coming back, and there was just the longest line around the building. I had not seen the memo yet, that they were holding auditions for chicks to be on The Bachelor. And Nice. It was like, I mean, it was just everything. Like, if you just wanted to see like how not to raise your daughter, just go stand in that line. I remember like walking in, I was like, it looked like the floor of a titty bar. There was body glitter everywhere. Like, it was just like somebody just squirted fucking body glitter all over the floor of the lobby. And like, and then of course every dude that I work with is like, I need to go walk by the lobby and see if this is and like, let me go, there's my picture in a frame. I'm just gonna go stand by it and see if anyone notices. It's me, I'm on TV.
It's what we do. Jesus Christ, guys.
It's terrible. I had more like, there's more funny stories, obviously, like when I was a sports producer, because I would have to go to all the games and like be in the locker rooms and shit like that for interviews. So that was always, for my immature ass, it was really difficult for me to be in a locker room doing an interview with just a wiener marathon just walking past me the whole time. And you're like, look at a point on the wall. Don't look down. Don't look at it. Don't look at it.
Not me. I'd be staring. If I'm in a locker room, like at the New York sports club I go to, every time I don't change there or anything, but I do use the bathroom. You have to walk through the locker room. If there's naked dudes, I'm fucking looking at their dicks. Oh. I am. I'm not gonna like touch it, or it's not a gay thing. I'm just like,
well, there's a dick, you look at it. Like, I would look at it too, but I was like, don't stare. And I'm in like professional sports, like NBA locker rooms. Like, this is like a whole other level of dick, like there was one reporter that I worked, he didn't work with me, but like we all walk out of the locker room. It was after the San Antonio Spurs won the championship, and I just remember he walked out with his head down. He goes, I need to call my wife and apologize. It was like a car wash in there. There was fucking champagne and jumping up and down 7 foot tall guys. Like, oh my God, that is.
All right. This is the question I got to ask. I have to ask this because I've heard stories. Like, somebody told me they once saw Vladimir Guerrero's dick. And they said his penis was so big he could swing it between his legs and catch it in his butt cheeks. So
I heard, now
please, because I don't even have to ask the question because you know exactly what I'm going to
ask. I know
ask.
exactly what you're going to ask. Now, I didn't see this individual, but this is the one that I've heard that this guy I worked with, straight up, he was like, I saw Michael Irvin in the locker room and he could use that shit as a belt. No. I'm not even kidding.
I believe it.
He was like, it was just one of the most like, how could you not? He goes, everyone, was like, are you how is this real? Is this a joke? Like, should I fucking pet it and like take a picture? That was the one that I heard, but there's been I won't name names, but that was the one that of all the people that I worked with who I know have seen it all, everyone was like, Michael Irvin, whoa. No wonder he has such confidence.
For sure. That's why you don't become a great receiver with a fucking little doodad. You gotta.
But I'm like, how do you run that fast? Like, if that's
bundle it up, tie it in a knot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's stick it in that. Yeah, but put it in a bow. I believe Michael Irvin is huge. It's so funny. I was doing a show last night at the New York Comedy Club, and I'm doing crowd work, and this way this guy is sitting, I was like, you probably have the way you're sitting. It's like I can tell you're just packing heat. And then I keep going, and then I go back to him, and I say, like, what do you do for a living? He's like, oh, what are you just gonna keep making fun of me? And I was like, how is saying you have a big dick making fun of you?
Right.
If anything, I'm building you up for all the girls in here. And like the audience is loving that, and then he kind of like, it's seen in his face, like, yeah, you're right. It's you haven't said anything mean about it. I was like, I know, dude. People
Like,
are just so
have you never truly been made fun of before, dude? Because that's not what this is. This is a compliment.
I know. I said something along the lines like, yeah, it's like, dude, the comic just wouldn't stop shitting on me. He said I had a high credit scored, a super sweet guy, and have a huge penis. Like, this guy's an asshole.
You know, honest face, huge cock. I mean, what a
huge cock. All right, because there's fans right now that are getting mad at us, so we're talking about dicks and not CCR. I can already tell. Right. All right, no. This I took us there. This is where
I bet John Fogerty has a huge dick. How about that?
Huge dick. Yeah. Huge dick. So does Stu. Yeah, you don't have a name like the Gollywogs or whatever if you're not packing heat. So you said you like the songs that are on the other record more than
I
this
like the
one.
songs on all of them, but I would say, like, if Back Against the Wall, I would say Cosmos Factory is always my fave.
I mean, this has, just let's talk about the sequencing of this record. They're opening up with Down on the Corner, which great song. I think it's kind of like when I listen to this record, the two songs that are the most popular on it, in my opinion, are the ones that I kind of want to skip over the most. Like I like Down on the Corner. I think it's an incredible song. And I love Fortunate Son because, like I said, it's when you think of the 60s and the 70s, you think of this song. But I am drawn to It Came Out of the Sky. I'm drawn Cotton Fields. I fucking love.
Yeah, Midnight Special is one of my faves too.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's such a fun, just the way he starts it. Well, you wake up in the morning. Midnight Special's great. I'll say my favorite song. Don't tell me yours yet, because we're going to ask you at the end. Okay. But when I heard Feeling Blue, that was the one that I immediately started, and I was like, oh, this is it. I'm now a Creedence Clearwater fan because of this song, because now I've got a deep cut that's not popular. There's nothing special about Feeling Blue, but it is so catchy. It is so just, if you don't listen to Feeling Blue and don't hum it for the next day, then you don't know anything about music and you don't know anything about happiness, because it is, in my opinion, a perfect song. It's simple. I don't know what the fuck they're singing about. I'm assuming here. Adam, do you have a little doodad about it?
Didn't find much on that one, but I love the intro to that song. It's got a real nice groove to it.
This is what Adam literally wrote in my script. I couldn't find much about this song, but the intro is badass and the groove has a similar feel to Born on the Bayou. Ooh, Adam, you're doing great, bro. All right, now here, let's find out about Down on the Corner. Actually, now, Peter, you're going to have to cut this part a little bit because I just want to ask. Adam, before I go on, what is worth mentioning in the songs? So should I just focus on Down on the Corner and Fortunate Son? Is that the two that I really should?
Yeah, I mean, those are the two I would hit the most. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Fortunate Son.
Okay, cool. So let's just pick on Down on the Corner. All right, so Peter, pick it up from here. All right, so we got to talk about the two hits, Down on the Corner. So this song tells the story of a fictional jug band, Willie and the Poor Boys, who were street musicians playing for nickels, can't be beat. Just as the Beatles took the role of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Creedence became Willie and the Poor Boys for this album. Ooh, I like that. And this is the only song that played to the concept, but CCR appeared on the cover as the fictional band. And Willie and the Poor Boys persona suited the group, as they really were a basic, hardworking band who paid their dues before hitting it big. They sold, the jug band theme live by performing the song with a wash tub bass and washboard. Could you find that, Adam? Could you find that video?
That's always amazing to see when you see somebody playing a washboard with the gloves on and everything.
I didn't know they had gloves. I just thought they had like a pick or something.
Oh no, there's these like gloves. It looks like some like Freddy Krueger shit, like these weird gloves, and then they scrape them across the washboard.
God bless their soul. This song peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Fortunate Son reached number 14. Fogerty did all the singing. John Fogerty claims the bassist Stu Cook couldn't play the bass properly for the song. They spent 6 weeks rehearsing it, and they finally got it done in the recording session. Fortunate Son. There you go. Beginning of side 2. What a start, as Adam would say. What a start. This ranks at number 227 on Rolling Stone magazine's 2021 list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. Proud Mary is number 152. This reached number 14 on the chart as the B-side to Down on the Corner, which reached number 3. This was added to the Library of Congress in 2013. So this is basically Fogerty and Doug kind of singing about being about enlisting in the reserves in 66 to avoid being drafted and shipped to Vietnam. Let me read this little blurb, and I got a question for you. The song speaks more to the unfairness of class than war itself. It's the only saying, let me take that again. It's the old saying about rich men making war and poor men having to fight them. Julie Nixon was hanging around with David Eisenhower, the former president's grandson, and you just had to have the feeling that none of these people were going to be involved with the war. Do you think this Fortunate Son is the most important anti-war song ever made? And if it's not, what other songs? Like, I know we mentioned Born in the USA, but like, I don't think there's a song that when you think of war, maybe I say the best, but I'd say the most popular.
Yeah, it's one that's been in so many. I mean, like, you think about Forrest Gump. It was in Forrest Gump. It's been, like, it's been in so many movies as an anti-war song. And then, of course, it still makes me laugh that people play it thinking it's a pro-war song. You know, like, how do you not? It's the most, like, I think, confusing song for some people. But I do think that it, you know, maybe I'll think of something in like 6 hours when we're done. I'll go, oh, shit, there's another song. But I actually do. I think it's just one of the, it's a song that every time you hear it, you can't help but hear the fucking choppers. Like, it takes you right to a place of like Vietnam.
Yeah, but what is it about this song? It's like, this is a song that's so critical of the government that makes politicians almost want to co-opt it. Like, why are they using this? Why are they using Born in the USA? I understand Born in the USA because of that chorus. Right. But like, why are other people that this is like, they don't even get it? Like, I feel like it's being laid out so perfectly, but so many people are like, oh no, I'm going to play this at my rally. Like,
right. I don't know why people just play Kid Rock and Ted Nugent at your rally. Like, you know, they're not going to come back and go, hey dude, don't do that. Like, but everyone, I love that people just keep taking that gamble. And it's like, you must have the worst publicist people working for you if that slipped through the cracks and y'all push play on Fortunate Son. Like, how does no one, I just feel like how, like, just the ignorance of people, or maybe the arrogance and ignorance of people to think that, oh, they'll be flattered that I'm playing this song and not, instead of going, no, you know, music, clearly you're not a music fan because you're not paying attention to the lyrics. You haven't done your research. That song is the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you consider Creedence a political band?
Yeah, I don't think they're a political band. I think that they're just a great band, but I think that they had become a political band because of how many times John Fogerty has to come forward and say, stop playing our fucking song.
Yeah.
You know, if that's the only time it's really in politics is because of how many times that song is used. And he has to come back and say, stop using this song. You know, it's if people weren't constantly doing it, I don't know that I would consider them like a political band. I just think they're like a kind of a bluegrass, bluesy, country, like, I don't know. They're to me kind of their own little genre of music, but I don't know that I would say it's political.
Who do you think they've influenced? Like, out of the bands that have come after them, like where do we, like, who do we get because of them?
Stillwater from Almost Famous.
Fever Dog.
I mean, I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, they're just being Creedence. Like, that's exactly. They look like them and everything. They dress like them.
I love you. That was a perfect answer.
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I would say that particular like fictitious band.
I'd say Bruce Springsteen for sure. I'd say you got to put Bruce because I know Bruce was probably already making music, and Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Bruce was already pretty active in New Jersey at the time, but he hadn't broken yet. Am I right or am I wrong? Because I don't know when Born to Run.
Oh, you're on the right path there.
Yeah, I'd say him. I would say Fuck, man.
Tom Petty.
Draw a blank.
Tom Petty for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say. Did you say Public Enemy? Because
I would Brothers.
Allman
Public Enemy too.
Allman Brothers.
I would put. I would say. I would. You know, we've pitched out to get Chuck D on, and Chuck D. You know, yes, he's doing hip hop, but I also feel like, oh fuck, Rage Against the Machine. We could
boom.
I can ask Tom. I bet you Tom fucks with them. Like, how could you not? How could you not? When you make a song that's so perfectly political without, it's like I mean, maybe Fortunate Son is kind of ramming it down your throat a little bit. It's like that's why it's so ridiculous that a politician would use it. You're like, how do you not fucking see it?
You're right. But that makes it even sadder. That's how dumb politicians are. That they can't even see a song lyric, and these are the people making choices. That's fucking terrifying. But Allman Brothers is a good one because I definitely think that there has to be some level of influence from CCR.
Sure. I also think that, you know, and maybe I'm right or I'm wrong about this, but I also feel like, you know, when you're writing the character of the dude from Big Lebowski, it's like, I wouldn't be shocked if the Coen brothers were probably listening to CCR.
Don't you remember CCR was all over that movie? Like when he's like smoking that fucking roach and he's just like banging on the ceiling of his piece of shit car. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it was Looking Out My Back Door was the song that he was listening to.
Do you think John Fogerty could like outsmoke Snoop Dogg?
I'd like to see it, honestly. I'd like to be a part of that. That would be dope.
No, from you get a voice like that. Like to have my voice, I started smoking Marlboro Reds and weed at a very, very young age, 13 until about 20. Well, I think I switched to lights probably by about 19, and then I had like a run with Newports for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
actually make like a diet of smoking for people to get your voice, because you have a great voice.
You also need to take opiates and you need to vomit a few times.
There you
go. You really do. And it's crazy. All right, let's do some
regimen that you have to follow in order to sound like you.
It's people try to do impersonations of me, Jenny, and I'm like, nah, it's not right.
Because every impersonation is it just a person going, "Hey, look at me, I'm Josh." Like they just do that.
Yeah, Big J Okerson will go like, "Hey guys, it's me, Josh." It's like and what I do is when I'm on Bonfire or Legion of Skanks and they start making fun of my voice in that way, I just join in.
Yeah.
And start talking like that. I'm like, "Yep, that's me, everybody. Here we go. Scoodly-doo, scoodly-dan." All right, we got a Patreon question. This is from Jeremy Brinling. The drummer Doug Clifford said in 2013, connected to the band's insane 3 albums in 1 year output, Fogerty told us that if we were ever off the charts, then we would be forgotten. When have you felt the need to speed up or slow down your efforts or work?
Always, every day. Like,
really?
Yeah, I'm like the person that, like I have a good stand-up set. I'm walking back from the Comedy Store and I'm already thinking about, I need to get more shit booked next week.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to learn to be more like enjoy having a good set and like enjoy the success for that moment. But I'm always just like, it's never good enough. I'm constantly wanting the next thing.
Yeah. I mean, well, especially in our profession and probably in musicians too, is that talent only takes you so far.
Yeah.
There are, and I'm not going to name the names of, there are some people that are very, very successful that are mediocre comics. But if you talk to any of the other comics that are contemporaries with these mediocre comics that have gone on and reached that same level, they will say that person was networking. That person was doing this, was doing that. And I say to certain friends that I have that are extremely talented, if you don't put out content and you just rely on the word of mouth and your talent to get you to the place that you want to get, you're never going to get there because there's somebody else that is going to fucking work 10 times harder and they're not nearly as funny as you.
Yeah. And I mean, I've seen those comics that are like hustlers, they don't stop. Like after a show, they're handing out flyers. They're like, I mean, they don't stop. And then I look and I'm like, God, man, I need to get my shit together.
Yeah.
But is that my style to sit there and make flyers to hand out? I don't know.
No.
I probably feel weird doing it.
I know. It feels weird because it feels like you're whoring yourself.
Right.
But it works. It does. Dude, it's, man, and it sucks because, as a comic, it's not be funny anymore. It's, you have to know how to control your social media, which you have a great feel for. You have a great feel for Twitter and Instagram and everything. And it's like, but you have to check all of those. You have to do that. Then you have to book yourself shows and you have to promote this and you have to cut out the clips and it's just, there's so much work. And
and the clip thing is a big, like, I don't know like how much you do it, but like, I'm trying to now start, because I get too precious about it. I'm like, that bit's not ready yet. I don't want to put a fucking clip of that bit out just yet. I think I can, and then I get in my head too much about it and then never do it. But then I'm like, oh, I need to make sure that somebody takes a picture of me on stage so that I can post that so that people can see I'm a working comic. There's just this stupid shit that you get in your head about, but you kind of have to do, because if I feel like, oh, I didn't have enough spots this weekend, and then I look on Instagram and I see all these comics I follow posting all this shit, and then it makes me feel shitty.
I know.
It's such a weird, it's such a weird thing that we do.
It really is. And to be honest with you, I only in the last 3 or 4 months, maybe 6, have been posting clips, because in New York, all the clubs record your set. And all you got to do is, and it's in good quality and it comes quickly. So you could, if something could happen in the world and you could write a funny thing about it and then say it that night. And then as soon as I get off stage, I'm emailing, set request Comedy Cellar. And then I'm getting the set sent to me. And then I send it to my dude. He cuts it up, puts the words on it, and I put it online. And full disclosure, man, I've seen my social media jump. I've seen, I have a clip, and this was crazy, guys. I have a clip that I posted 2 months ago that has, out of nowhere, it's got like 300, 400,000 views. And it's just, and in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten 2,000 new Instagram followers. Wow. So it sucks because it's a joke that I want to do on a special, but realistically, what is a comedy special anymore? Because if you're getting fans from social media, they're going to come see you anyway. Right. And I didn't have to spend, $60,000 on a comedy special. I spent 30 and got paid 100. It's a really weird battle. So I would say, Jenny, if you can, try to record your sets and don't be so married to some of your material. The more you get it out, the better it's going to be, and you're going to write more, and you're always good. You're funny. So we'll
I just wish that more, because I follow everyone at Comedy Cellar and I see what they do and I see the quality of those clips. I wish more clubs out here did that, because I had a set, like a bit that the Laugh Factory, was like, hey, can we post, they asked me if they could post it. They had the words and everything. So I put that on my Instagram and it did fucking great. But it was like, I just had this one clip. I just, I go somewhere, another club that maybe records it, but they're like, oh, sorry, it doesn't really pick up the audio that well for the audience. Yeah. So then it doesn't sound like you're really doing very good. And then you don't want to post like, hey, look at me hit this punchline with somebody coughing in the back or something.
You're like, that's what you hear for laughter. Instead of like, but they're like really like,
I'm like, I know that was a great set. I know it was. I was just there. But why don't y'all like throw a couple microphones in the audience? And
LA is God, not to quote Brendan Schaub right now, but as LA is Blockbuster and New York is fucking Netflix, because they get it. And they're just like, it's like they know, because all the Improv, the Laugh Factory, and the Comedy Store. The Comedy Store is going to be fine. But let's say this: the Improv and the Laugh Factory and the Ha-Ha, if they want to promote their club, because you post those clips, you got your sign that says Comedy Cellar, you got your sign that says New York Comedy Club.
You got the stand, Improv right behind you.
You're getting free promotion. So step it up, LA. Step it up. All right. let's get out of here. I ask these questions to every guest. Jenny, thank you for moving mountains, because just to pull the curtain back on everybody. So we were supposed to record last week, then we had to move it. Then we were supposed to record yesterday, and then I got high and went to a meatball competition. And Jenny had rolling blackouts in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and then I also had a super strong edible, and I was like, "Whoa, you went to a meatball festival?"
I sent you the video of the champion belt being accepted. But also it was great too, man, because actually when we bumped it, it was like I had just gotten home. I'm stoned. I'm tired. All I want to do, I'm watching The Boys right now. So I'm on season 2.
I fucking love that show.
So fucking good. So fun.
It's one of my favorite shows right now.
It really is fun. They're doing it right. And then I literally hooked my dog's leash up to take her outside to poop and pee her. And then the New York Comedy Club hits me up and they're like, "Hey Josh, we had to drop out. Can you be here in like 10 minutes? And I live a block and a half away from the club. So anytime they have a dropout, they always hit me first because they know it's like I could be there immediately. Right. And I ran over there, said something new, got the set, and it even worked out even better because I have dick to do today. I have a party, but I'm like, fuck, I don't. Yeah. This is not an American holiday anymore, man. We're doing so bad. It's a real sad state of affairs in America. All right, Josh, great way to set the mood positive.
Everything's gone to shit. The world's a toilet. Thank you.
All right, here you go. Let's ask these questions. Let's get out of here. Right. Favorite song on the record?
Favorite song on the record, Midnight Special.
Midnight Special. I'm going to say Feeling Blue. Feeling Blue. Ooh, 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 ooh. You know why I like it? Because he does it. I'm feeling blue. I'm feeling blue. They do this weird little like syncopation in that chorus that it could be one little thing that attracts me to it. But that as soon as I heard Feeling Blue, I was like, that song's perfect. I would say second, I'll probably say Midnight Special.
Yeah.
Lee's favorite song on the record.
Ooh, it's hard to say. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on the ones I don't listen to.
I don't know if you agree with me. I see. This is what's weird, and I know this is going to get some flack. Out of everything that's on this record, I said
Side of the Road. That was it.
Side of the Road, yes, but I tended to skip over more Down on the Corner, and I know it's a great song. It's a great song, but I've heard it so much that I think I just was like, I don't need to hear this one again. Fortunate Son. The only reason I kept listening to it is there's these little parts in Fortunate Son, like it's almost like John couldn't think of a lyric, so he goes, ooh, he's like, oh yes, ooh, the red, white, and blue, we baba down, ski baba do, ooh, you baba down line too. He's like, I do that all the time when I can't think of a lyric. I go, ooh.
I think maybe that's what fooled all the politicians. Is like he keeps saying red, white, and blue, skibbity-doo.
Skibbity-doo. This is my favorite question, and now it's a two-parter. Is this all right? So here it is. All right. First, it's so dumb because I already know the answer to this. Is this a fuckable album?
Of course, it's a fuckable album.
Really?
Yeah. Why not?
You're putting on, and I'm talking. You got to put it on track 1. And you start fucking.
I can do it.
Okay. I don't know if I would fuck to this record. I would fuck to a couple songs, but here's the main thing: if you have,
you have to stop and then rewind.
Yeah, but if you have, all right. So if you have a sex playlist, like you take different tracks, what's the one song on this record that is like you would say you're pulling off and putting on your sex playlist?
I guess Midnight Special, since it's my favorite.
Okay.
Because you could get a midnight special, it all works.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. I would say.
What about you?
I think I'm feeling blue because I really.
It doesn't sound
sex. No, I know,
I'm
but
feeling blue. Let's fuck.
But it's sexy. Even though it's about being sad, it's sexy. It's something about that song. Yeah. It's sexy. All right. Well, we'll agree to disagree. All right.
And I said it's the official anthem of pity fucking.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. I got 10 minutes.
It's like, all right, chin up, sweet girl. Let's go. Come on.
and now, give me your elevator pitch to get our listeners to listen to this record. What's your elevator pitch?
I mean, I feel like just saying that I could fuck to the whole album should be the elevator pitch. I mean, done. But, like, what else do you need? You've got
I don't think you need
it humming in your ear. I mean, it's perfect.
I think,
and you can wear red, white, and blue too.
Yeah,
you can feel patriotic.
I love that album. I love that we recorded this on 4th of July. It feels apt. It feels like
perfect.
It makes sense. It really is kind of perfect. Jenny, promote away anything you want to promote.
Yeah, well, follow me, Jenny Johnson, high five, HI number 5. Oh, Dewey, my dog just says hi.
Hi, Dewey.
Yeah, and just, if you follow me, I always put where I'm going to be performing and everything. So that's it.
Everybody follow her. She's incredible. Thank you, Jenny, for coming on, babe.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.